Hello and welcome to another episode of He Says, She Says Film Reviews. I'm Dave G.
And I'm Lee G.
And today we're taking a look at In the Heights. Yes, before the great big Broadway spectacular Hamilton, the creators of that actually had another hit musical on their hands called In the Heights. Now, director John Chu has decided to bring In the Heights to cinemas, and I know a lot of people out there have been asking, why is John Chu, the director of G.I. Joe, doing a dance movie? Well, before G.I. Joe, he actually worked on the Step Up series, so he's quite known for being able to work on musicals and dance films. He also produced and directed the Justin Bieber documentary that came out a few years ago that looked at Bieber's career, so obviously he has a passion for music and dance as well. Now, In the Heights kind of centers around a character called Yusnavi, played by Anthony Ramos, who owns a bodega in an area called Washington Heights, which is predominantly a lower socio-economic area of New York. And the surprising thing about this area is that a lot of the people who are there feel like they are trapped, including Yusnavi, who dreams about going back to the Dominican Republic and rebuilding his father's business that was there. Now, amongst the other dreamers around him are Benny, played by Corey Hawkins, who basically runs the taxi service in Washington Heights, but he dreams of bigger and better things. He's always going out and buying newspapers and following the stock market, and he just dreams about breaking out of this cycle. Now, their lives are kind of turned upside down when Nina, played by Leslie Grace, returns back from college with the news that she doesn't want to go back to college, even though her father wants her to, because she feels that she's being victimized at college because of the color of her skin. Also, at the same time, we also follow the dreams of Vanessa, played by Melissa Barrero, who Yusnavi has had a crush on for years. She dreams about becoming a fashion designer, but feels trapped working in a beautician's parlor in Washington Heights. Now, I know you love musicals, so what was your thoughts on In the Heights?
Yeah, I do love musicals in general. There's a lot of storylines in this movie. So you've got the main character, Yusnavi, but on top of that, as you've already mentioned, there's a lot of other characters that could hold their own storyline, really. And I have to say I probably enjoyed the storyline of Nina even more than the main character, Yusnavi. But it is an interesting film. It brings to your mind what it might be like to dream about moving to another country where you think they have all the answers. Life's going to be so much better. Everything's going to improve for you, your family, and generations to come. But then there's the complexities of what the communities are really like, or what that country really does or doesn't offer, and the disappointments and letdowns of life and being treated differently as well. So there's a lot to think about in this movie. It does keep you thinking. It brings up questions for you. And I remember after the movie having a discussion with you, Dave, about what it would take to move to another country, what would happen if it wasn't as good as you had hoped, and whether you would want to return back to your original country of origin, or whether you stick it out and kind of accept what's happening, or whether you fight for justice and stay in the country you've moved to. So there's lots of thought-provoking things there. As a musical, I actually think this would be better just as a film. I love musicals. I do love the music of In the Heights, but I felt like there was some topics that were sung about that were just mundane things, and didn't really, I feel, require a song about. So there's not much dialogue in this movie at all. Most of the movie is sung, and so you're trying to learn about the characters only through song, and I think that leaves you with pieces missing about the person, because although music brings emotion and you feel for the characters, you do want to actually hear them in dialogue as well, not just in lyrics. So the opening song was super long. I could be wrong, I didn't time it, but it felt like it was at least 15 minutes long. And I started to realize that most of the movie would not be having much dialogue, as in people speaking, that it was going from song to song, and you were trying to learn about the characters only through song. I love music, I love musicals, but I think that in a theatre production such as this, that is on the screen as a film now, I think you need more lyrics. What do you think?
Yeah, I loved certain elements of this. I loved the friendship between Usnavi and Sonny, played by Gregory Diaz IV. I thought that was the most powerful story in this, that this character of Sonny made you think about stuff that you've never really thought about before. His parents came to America illegally, which means now Sonny's life has kind of been condemned to not much, because he can't go out and find a proper job. He can't get a driver's license or anything like that. And I really liked that storyline. I loved the fact that Usnavi, even though he's young himself, is almost like a father to Sonny, and he's talking about taking him back to the Dominican Republic. But I found the same problem as you with this as a musical, in that there was no memorable songs in there. There was a really bad musical that came out a few years ago with Kate Hudson in it called Nine, and despite how bad that musical was, I still remember some of the songs from it. The songs were catchy enough that they became earworms and kind of stuck in my head over the years, and sometimes I find myself humming one of the songs from that. I didn't find that with In the Heights, and I think part of the reason why is because, as you said, the songs in the Heights are almost the conversations that happens between the characters. So the song that I remember from Nine is a song that celebrates Italian cinema. So that's what sticks in my head, because I like Italian cinema, whereas I don't remember the songs from In the Heights because they're normally conversations. Like, some of the conversations are witty, put into song, like when Sonny is teasing Usnavi about not being able to know how to flirt with Vanessa. I thought that was really witty, but it's not the kind of music that you're going to walk away from this musical remembering. Having said that, though, I think the dance numbers in this were absolutely spectacular. I think John Chu used all of the knowledge that he had from working on the Step Up franchise in this film. And for me, some of the scenes, including, I won't say which two characters because it kind of gives away something, but two of the characters celebrating their relationship starting by dancing on the side of a building, that will stick with me because that was something memorable, and it was much more memorable than the music, I felt.
Yeah, I agree. The dance sequences were really good. Choreography was great. And obviously it's been a theatre production and now translating to film. So they've got all that right, of course. Yeah, but I think, again, it needed a bit more dialogue. But yeah, I thought the dance sequences were brilliant. The theme song, I suppose you would call it, it's in all the ads, that does stick with you, the main song. But all the others, I felt like you, that they didn't stick with me. And again, because it was just everyday life conversation, but put into a song. Yeah, so I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the storylines.
Yeah.
I liked the characters and, enjoyed following some of the characters' stories. Again, as you know, I like to see films basically from start to finish, and that's just a personal preference, so they shouldn't put anyone else off if that doesn't annoy them. But, having a character talking to children and doing the flashback of what happened, rather than just this is where the story started and this is where it goes. I didn't feel the need for the scenes with the children, and if you watch a film, you know what I mean. Yeah, I thought the film could have done without that. I haven't personally seen the theatre production, so I don't know if that's in it or not. But I didn't feel like that was needed. But again, there's a lot to like about this film. It is very thought-provoking. You do want to see justice for people. It's certainly focused on community and family, and you go on the emotional ride with them for their life stories. But I just wish there was more dialogue. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I didn't enjoy the film. The other thing is that it's super long.
It is, yeah.
I felt like translated into film, it was just a bit too long, and I felt that the songs could have been cut down, and maybe that would have actually worked better in a film sense. So so I wouldn't tell people not to watch it, because I thought it was very interesting, but if you don't like musicals, there's not a balance of dialogue with the music.
With the complexity of some of the storylines, I actually thought this might have worked better as a one-season TV show on a streaming service, because I thought there's some great performances in there from some of the older actors as well, and at times they get overlooked. I thought Jimmy Smits, who most people would remember from NYPD Blue, as Kevin the father, I thought he was really, really good, and I would like to have seen more of his storyline. The same with Daniela, played by Daphne Rubin Vega. It almost feels at times like she's playing J-Lo with her character, and I thought their stories could have actually been expanded a little bit more if they'd actually done this as a television show, like just a one-season kind of show, almost like a mini-series. I thought that would have expanded the stories a little bit more, and perhaps wouldn't have made you feel the length, because I found it really interesting that at the start of this film, there was a lot of storylines centered around Benny, but then as the film went on, you realise that everything was from Yusnavi's point of view, and Benny almost got forgotten about at parts in this film. Yeah. So you almost wonder if it would have worked better as a television series where every episode focused on one of the characters and it all brought together in the end about them achieving their dreams. But look, I was really, really impressed with the performances. Often when they put together a film like this and they bring together people from the theatre world and people from the film world, it almost clashes in that you can tell, oh, that person's got a theatre background and not a television background. But in this, you couldn't tell. Like I said, I know Jimmy Smits has kind of done both over the years, but his performance in this was great. And the same with the young cast as well, who have mainly come through theatre and dance. They looked amazing on screen with their performances. So I think that was a big plus for it. But yeah, I agree with you. It was overlong, and which was a kind of annoying, because I actually wanted to know more about these characters, but the songs didn't give me that access to their lives. So I think it would have worked better as a streaming service television series, really.
Yeah, I agree. There is so much in this film with the different characters that you could follow the different characters for quite some time in a series. And as I've mentioned, I think the character of Nina and also Vanessa, they were probably the characters that I wanted to follow more and know more about. I think their performances were outstanding, and I wanted to know even more about them. You could identify with their struggles, you could see what they wanted in life, and yeah, just like the other characters as well, they all had things that they wanted to achieve, frustrations, letdowns, and a goal for where they wanted to get to. But I agree, they all definitely could have had their own significant storylines within a TV series.
I love the little quirks in this as well. Like, people are probably thinking, oh, is the name that you keep on talking about, Yusnavi, is that a Latin name? No, it's not. His dad arrived in America and saw it written on the side of a boat and thought it was a name, so he said, I'll name my first son that. It was actually US Navy on the side of a Navy boat. So I love those little quirks, like, about how he ended up with such an unusual name and things like that. So I guess the big question is, what are you going to give this 1 out of 5? Did you like it enough to give it a pass mark, or did you not like it that much?
Yeah, for sure. I really did like it. I just would like to have seen more depth with the characters, and I think that could only have been done with extra dialogue. So I am going to give it 3.5. Yeah, I also mentioned that it's just a bit long to be able to keep concentrated for all that time when there's a lot of music with some topics that really should have been spoken about.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. I think the fact that it didn't really have any songs in it that I walked away humming kind of showed that in a way it doesn't 100% work as a musical, but I thought the performances and the storyline kind of saved it in a lot of the sense. So yeah, I didn't hate it. It's not a musical that I'd probably rush out to watch again. Maybe in a decade or so I might, but it's not one that I would rush back to see. Not like when Chicago came out and I went to the media screening and then I went and saw it again on the day that it opened or anything like that. So 3 out of 5 from me, 3.5 from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for this episode. I've been Dave G.
And I'm Lee G.
And we'll be back soon with another episode of He Says, She Says Film Reviews.